Most doctors will never tell you this, how fast you're really aging. Not the number on your birth certificate, not the years you've lived, but how old you truly are on the inside. Inside your cells right now, there's an invisible biological clock ticking away, and it's nothing like your chronological age. This clock is called your telomere length. Unlike your age on paper, your telomeres can go in either direction, getting shorter or longer. And what if I told you there's one specific purple root vegetable eaten for centuries by populations with the longest confirmed lifespans on Earth that can slow down that internal clock by up to 44%? In some cases, it doesn't just slow down, it reverses the biological aging process. In today's video, I'm going to show you exactly how this purple yam works and reveal the one common preparation mistake that completely wipes out most of its benefits before it even enters your bloodstream. For years, most of us have believed aging is a one-way street. Once you hit a certain age, that's it, the direction is fixed, and the speed is predetermined. But after nearly a decade of studying nutrition and cellular aging, I can tell you that belief is totally wrong, and it's costing people years of healthy life. Cellular aging is dynamic, it's modifiable. Your biological age and chronological age can actually diverge by a decade or more, and it goes both ways. Hi, I'm Dr. Leana, an emergency medicine physician and cellular aging researcher. After nearly 10 years of studying how nutrition affects cellular longevity, one key finding stopped me in my tracks: the massive gap between how old people are on paper and how old they are at a cellular level. I've met five-year-olds whose cellular aging markers look like they belong to someone in their 70s. And on the flip side, I've seen 4-year-olds with biological age markers that suggest they were closer to 60. And guess what? This gap is not random. It has nothing to do with genetic luck. It's almost perfectly aligned with cumulative dietary choices. Specifically, whether or not a person's diet includes foods that activate the body's anti-aging mechanisms on a cellular level. Now, today, I want to dive into one food that has been shown to do this better than almost anything else. It's called the purple yam, and I'll explain why it is a game changer when it comes to slowing down cellular aging. But before we get into the science, there's something I want to mention. If you found any value in these videos, I'd love it if you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for updates. It's completely free, and it helps this channel reach more people who are actively trying to make better decisions about their health. All right, let's dig in and explore why telomere length, not cholesterol, not BMI, and not even blood pressure, is the most accurate predictor of how you'll age on the inside. Let's start with a simple analogy. Picture the tip of a shoelace. That small plastic tip is called an aglet. Its sole job is to keep the lace from unraveling. While the aglet is intact, the lace holds together perfectly. But once the aglet wears down, the lace begins to fray. Eventually, the whole thing falls apart. Your chromosomes function in exactly the same way. Every strand of DNA in your cells has a protective cap at each end, called a telomere. The telomere's role is to protect the chromosome from unraveling when the cell divides. And cells divide constantly billions of times a day, without stopping. Every time a cell divides, its telomeres get a little shorter, a little more worn down. As we age, our telomeres shorten over time. When telomeres become critically short, the cell reaches a biological dead end. It has two options. It can either stop dividing altogether, or it can enter a state known as cellular senescence, what we call the zombie cell problem. And this is where cellular aging starts to get alarming. Now, imagine this. You have an employee in a company. The company tells the employee their position is being eliminated. But instead of leaving, the employee refuses to go. They stop doing any useful work, but instead sit at their desk, sending angry memos to other departments and causing disruptions everywhere. This employee is essentially a senescent cell. Senescent cells stop dividing and can no longer function, but they don't die. They stay around and actively release inflammatory signals that damage surrounding tissue. This phenomenon is known as SASP, senescence-associated secretory phenotype. These inflammatory signals are one of the primary drivers of everything we associate with aging, including joint degradation, cognitive decline, cardiovascular issues, and metabolic slowdown. Here's a shocking fact. By the time you hit 50, it is estimated that between 15% and 25% of your cells in key tissues are senescent. By the time you reach 70, in some tissues, that number can go much higher. So, how does purple yam help here? The compounds in purple yam are fascinating because they target both sides of this aging problem at once. First, they help slow the rate at which telomeres shorten. And second, they help the body clear out those senescent cells before they can cause cumulative damage. In other words, purple yam doesn't just slow down cellular aging, it helps reverse some of its effects. Let me explain how purple yam acts on cellular aging through 4 distinct biological pathways. Pathway 1. Anthocyanin activation of SIRT1, the longevity gene. The first mechanism is linked to anthocyanins, the pigment compounds responsible for the vibrant purple color of yams. Purple yams contain very high concentrations of anthocyanins, and these have been shown in both cellular and clinical studies to activate a class of proteins called sirtuins, specifically SIRT1, often referred to as the longevity gene. Sirtuins play a crucial role in maintaining cellular health. When SIRT1 is activated, it triggers a cascade of processes inside the cell, including DNA repair, better energy regulation, a reduction in inflammation, and most importantly, a slowdown in the rate at which telomeres shorten. Essentially, SIRT1 acts like a supervisor, overseeing a cellular repair program that helps the cell maintain itself in a healthier, more youthful state. Now, what makes this especially significant is that the activation of SIRT1 through the anthocyanins in purple yam is mediated by NAD+, a coenzyme that tends to decline with age. By helping sustain NAD+ levels, purple yam effectively keeps the longevity switch, SIRT1, turned on, thereby protecting cells from the detrimental effects of aging. Pathway 2. Telomere protection through antioxidant defense. Telomere shortening doesn't happen solely from cell division. Another major factor is oxidative stress, the cellular equivalent of rust. When free radicals, unstable molecules, accumulate faster than the body can handle them, they start to attack the most vulnerable regions of our chromosomes, including the telomeres. Now, here's where purple yam truly shines. It contains one of the highest antioxidant capacities of any food. The combination of anthocyanins, vitamin C, and manganese in purple yam creates a multi-layered defense against oxidative stress, specifically protecting the telomeres from damage. Several studies have demonstrated that higher anthocyanin intake correlates directly with longer telomere lengths in human populations, regardless of age, smoking, and diet. Purple yam helps neutralize free radicals before they can cause significant oxidative damage to the telomeres, giving the chromosomes a much better chance at staying intact and healthy. Now that we understand how purple yam helps with telomere protection, let's move on to another powerful aspect of its anti-aging benefits, the eviction of zombie cells, or senescent cells. As I mentioned earlier, senescent cells are like unwanted guests at a party once they've overstayed their welcome. They start causing chaos. These cells stop dividing, they don't die, and they actively release inflammatory compounds that damage the surrounding tissues. This phenomenon is called the senescence-associated secretory phenotype, SASP, and it's a key driver of aging. These zombie cells create an environment in the body that leads to inflammation, joint degradation, cognitive decline, and more. The incredible thing about purple yam is that it works directly on these zombie cells in 2 ways. It prevents them from accumulating in the first place by slowing down telomere shortening and reducing oxidative stress. It helps the body clear them out once they've become senescent. Purple yam contains a compound called diostrin, a steroidal saponin that has gained attention for its ability to modulate a process called apoptosis, the body's natural mechanism for disposing of damaged or dysfunctional cells. Here's the problem. In senescent cells, the apoptosis pathway is essentially jammed. The cells can't divide anymore, but they also can't trigger their own programmed death. As a result, they remain in the body, causing inflammation and damage to healthy tissue. That's where diostrin steps in. This compound helps unjam the apoptosis pathway, restoring the cell's ability to die off and be cleared by the immune system. This process reduces the inflammatory burden that senescent cells place on surrounding tissues, which means less chronic inflammation and ultimately slower aging of every system in the body. Pathway 3. The epigenetic clock, slowing down your cellular aging clock. Here's something that might surprise you. As we age, it's not the DNA sequence that changes much. Your genes are pretty much the same throughout your life. What changes is how those genes are expressed, which genes are turned on and which ones are turned off. This is regulated by a layer above the DNA called the epigenome. And the changes in gene expression patterns as we age are what researchers measure using something called the epigenetic clock. The epigenetic clock tracks the biological age of your cells by measuring DNA methylation patterns, the chemical modifications that influence gene expression. As we get older, the epigenetic clock advances, which means that more of your genes are turning on the processes associated with aging. However, purple yam anthocyanins can slow down this process by influencing methylation patterns at specific genes associated with aging. This is truly groundbreaking because the epigenetic clock is one of the most accurate measures of biological age, and studies have shown that purple yam compounds can slow the aging of your epigenome. In other words, by regularly consuming purple yam, you can turn back the clock at a molecular level, slowing down how quickly your cells age. One of the most promising findings in the research shows that anthocyanins in purple yam can directly influence methylation patterns, effectively slowing the pace of epigenetic aging. This is not metaphorical, it's scientifically measurable, using highly accurate tools like the Horvath clock, a validated biomarker that tracks biological age through methylation patterns. The more purple yam you consume, the slower the epigenetic clock runs. Pathway 4. Supporting research, real studies, and evidence. Now, you might be wondering, does this actually work in real life, or is this just theoretical? Good question. Let's look at some real-world studies that show the powerful impact of purple yam on aging markers. Korean National Institute of Health study. This study involved 1,958 adults between the ages of 40 and 69. The researchers measured telomere length and found that those in the high anthocyanin intake group had telomeres that were 8.6% longer than those in the low intake group. This was after adjusting for other factors like age, smoking, physical activity, and BMI. This is a significant finding, showing that the compounds in purple yam help protect telomeres in real people. University of Illinois Epigenetic Clock Study. This study used the Horvath DNA methylation clock to measure biological age. High anthocyanin consumers showed a 3-year reduction in biological age compared to their chronological age. Even better, after 18 months of high anthocyanin intake, the epigenetic clock slowed down, meaning their cells were aging at a much slower rate. This is the real deal, scientifically proven aging deceleration. National University of Singapore study. Researchers applied purple yam-derived diogenin extract to human fibroblast cell lines and found that it increased the clearance of senescent cells by 38%. This is a clear example of how purple yam actively targets the zombie cells that contribute to aging. Furthermore, this study showed a 44% reduction in SASP inflammatory output, meaning that purple yam is reducing chronic inflammation at the cellular level. Now that we've seen the science behind how purple yam works to combat cellular aging, let's get into the practical application. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to incorporate purple yam into your diet for optimal anti-aging benefits, including dosages, preparation methods, and the timing that will give you the best results. The primary dose of purple yam, scientifically known as Dioscorea alata, for cellular health and anti-aging benefits, is 150 to 200 grams cooked 4 to 5 times per week. This is the amount that corresponds to significant anthocyanin and diogenin delivery, the two key compounds responsible for slowing down the aging process at the cellular level. You can choose either fresh or frozen purple yam, as both perform equally well in terms of their anti-aging effects. In fact, purple yams are often flash frozen at peak anthocyanin density, which preserves their nutrient content. So, frozen purple yam can be just as effective as fresh, just make sure you're buying the right kind. Important tip. When buying purple yam, look for varieties that have a deep, vibrant color. The darker the flesh of the yam, the higher the anthocyanin concentration. A pale lavender interior and a deep violet purple interior are not the same food when it comes to biological activity. Always buy the deepest purple yam you can find for maximum health benefits. Preparation methods for maximum effect. Now, let's talk about the best ways to prepare purple yam to ensure that you retain its full anti-aging potential. Roast or steam? The ideal cooking methods are roasting or steaming. Roast the purple yam at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, 190 degrees Celsius, for about 35 to 40 minutes, or steam it for 18 to 22 minutes. These methods preserve the anthocyanins and other key compounds that help protect your cells and slow down aging. Avoid boiling. You might be surprised, but boiling purple yam can actually destroy up to 67% of the anthocyanins, because these compounds are water-soluble. When you boil the yam, the anthocyanins leach into the water. If you do boil it, you should drink the broth. But honestly, it's better to roast or steam the yam from the start to avoid this issue. Microwaving is second worst. Microwaving can disrupt the cell wall structure that helps protect the Diogenin, the compound that helps clear out senescent cells. So, while microwaving is convenient, it's not the best method for preserving the full potential of purple yam. Stick to roasting or steaming for the best results. The cooling process. Unlocking resistant starch. Once you've cooked the purple yam, there's one more critical step: cooling. After cooking, allow the yam to cool completely, preferably for at least 2 hours, at room temperature or overnight in the refrigerator. Cooling activates a portion of the starch in the yam, turning it into resistant starch, which acts as a prebiotic fiber that feeds the gut bacteria responsible for converting Diogenin into its most bioavailable form. This means that by letting the purple yam cool, you're actually enhancing its anti-aging properties. Gentle reheating, like warming it up slightly, will not reverse the transformation of the starch into resistant starch, so go ahead and reheat it for your meal without worry. Essential pairings for better absorption. Now, let's talk about pairing. To maximize the absorption of anthocyanins and other nutrients, you should consume purple yam with some form of healthy fat. Anthocyanins are fat-soluble, meaning they're absorbed better when there's fat present during digestion. The best way to pair purple yam for optimal absorption is by adding 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil or half an avocado to your meal. This doesn't just enhance the absorption of anthocyanins, but also provides you with healthy fats that support overall cellular health. Additionally, you can amplify the absorption of purple yam even further by adding a pinch of freshly ground black pepper to your meal. The active compound in black pepper, piperine, has been shown to increase the bioavailability of polyphenolic compounds, like anthocyanins, by up to 20% by inhibiting their rapid clearance from the intestines. It's a quick and easy way to boost the benefits of your purple yam intake. Timing, the best time to eat purple yam. Timing also plays a crucial role in maximizing the effects of purple yam. Evening consumption is preferred, ideally with your dinner. Here's why. After consuming purple yam, the Diogenin undergoes conversion by your gut bacteria, and this process works best during the overnight fasting window, when your gut has uninterrupted time to digest. The longer your gut can work without interruption, the more complete this conversion will be. Think of this timing principle as being similar to overnight fermentation, where the longer a food sits, the more its beneficial compounds are unlocked. For purple yam, giving your body time overnight to convert it into its most bioavailable forms is key to achieving the maximum anti-aging effects. Now that we've covered how to properly prepare purple yam, let's address the common mistakes people often make when trying to incorporate it into their diet. These small errors can make a big difference in the effectiveness of purple yam's anti-aging benefits. If you avoid these, you'll be able to truly maximize the incredible power of this purple root vegetable. Mistake has boiling instead of roasting or steaming. As we discussed earlier, boiling purple yam is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. Why? Because boiling causes a significant loss of anthocyanins, the compounds responsible for slowing down aging and protecting telomeres. When you boil purple yam, up to 67% of the anthocyanins leach out into the cooking water. And once they're gone, they can't do their work in your body. Instead of boiling, always steam or roast purple yam to preserve its beneficial compounds. Steaming for 18 to 22 minutes or roasting at 375 degrees Fahrenheit, 190 degrees Celsius for 35 to 40 minutes will retain the maximum amount of nutrients. If you must boil, don't discard the water, drink the broth to make sure you're still getting some of those nutrients, but ideally stick to steaming or roasting. Mistake hash 2. Confusing purple yam with purple sweet potato. Many people confuse purple yam with purple sweet potato, but these are actually two very different plants. Purple yam, Dioscorea alata, and purple sweet potato, Ipomoea batatas, have entirely different compound profiles. While purple sweet potato has some nutritional benefits, it doesn't contain the critical diogenin, the steroidal saponin, that is so essential for clearing out senescent cells. Diogenin is the compound in purple yam that targets the zombie cells, causing inflammation and aging in your body. Purple yams are typically found in Asian grocery stores and are often labeled as yub. On the other hand, purple sweet potatoes are commonly found in regular supermarkets, but they won't deliver the same anti-aging benefits as purple yam. Be sure to buy Dioscorea alata, the true purple yam, to get the maximum benefit. Mistake hash 3. Using purple yam only occasionally. Another common mistake is using purple yam sporadically. Some people may get excited and eat purple yam for a week or two, then stop, only to pick it up again weeks or months later. Unfortunately, this inconsistent approach won't give you the sustained benefits purple yam offers. The key to making purple yam work is consistency. Just like with exercise, the benefits of purple yam come from regular, consistent use over time. Studies have shown that to see measurable changes in your biological age and cellular health, you need to consume purple yam consistently for at least 8 to 12 weeks. If you're only eating it now and then, you won't be able to accumulate the benefits that come from regular intake. Make purple yam a part of your weekly routine, consuming it 4 to 5 times per week to ensure you're activating its anti-aging effects consistently. Mistake hash 4. Buying ube-flavored processed products. This is perhaps the most misleading mistake. Many products in stores are labeled ube-flavored or ube-infused, such as ube ice cream, ube chips, and ube cakes. These products may taste like purple yam, but they are often made with tiny amounts of actual purple yam, and sometimes none at all. Plus, the processing and added sugar work against the very pathways you're trying to activate. The anti-aging compounds in purple yam are heat-sensitive and chemically reactive, meaning they don't survive the commercial food processing intact. When purple yam is processed into products like cookies or ice cream, most of its health benefits are lost. To get the full anti-aging benefit, you need to consume whole purple yam, not processed ube-flavored foods. Stick to fresh, frozen, or roasted purple yam, and avoid the flavored, sugar-laden versions found in processed foods. Mistake hash 5. Relying on other superfoods instead of consistent purple yam consumption. Some people may get distracted by the latest superfoods and jump from one to another, hoping to find the next quick fix for aging. But the truth is, consistency is key when it comes to fighting aging at the cellular level. Purple yam is one of the most powerful foods for cellular longevity, but it works best when paired with a long-term, consistent approach to nutrition. Don't rely on a handful of random superfoods here and there. Instead, commit to a regular intake of purple yam to activate its anti-aging pathways and support cellular repair over the long run. Mistake hash 6. Not tracking the right biomarkers. If you want to track your progress and measure the impact of purple yam on your aging process, don't rely on weight. This is a big mistake that many people make. The anti-aging benefits of purple yam won't show up on the scale, and tracking weight loss alone isn't going to give you the full picture. Instead, focus on tracking your serum inflammatory markers, specifically C-reactive protein, CRP, and interleukin-6, IL-6. These are two markers that are most directly affected by senescent cell accumulation and chronic low-grade inflammation. By monitoring these markers, you can see measurable reductions in inflammation as you incorporate purple yam into your diet regularly. Ask your physician to measure CRP and IL-6 at baseline and again after 12 weeks of consistent purple yam consumption. Watching these numbers fall will be a clear sign that the cellular aging load is being reduced, and that's where the real anti-aging effects come from. Now that you know how to properly incorporate purple yam into your routine, let's wrap up with everything we've covered in the final part. Don't miss the last part where we'll summarize everything you need to know about using purple yam for anti-aging, and I'll give you the full breakdown of the protocol that can actually transform your cellular health. Stay tuned.